This podcast is brought to you by you, the listener. And if you want to support the podcast, you can head over to aaapodcast.com/join or Patreon. Support the show. We will give you all of our exclusive podcast episodes, and you'll be helping out the show as well, of course. And now, let's get it started.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at AAApodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Hello and welcome to the 646th episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. My name is Caroline and I'm joined here today by Mason and Mitsugi, of course. And yeah, here we are to make your anime addiction worse. So, how you doing, Mason?
It's October. Why is it October?
Wow.
It's
I have
October
a candle
2nd.
going as we speak.
I've got the heat going. It's fall, baby. We in this. Hooray or yay, depending on what your opinion of fall is. But it's here,
sweater weather.
and I can't believe it.
It's going
Sweater
awfully
weather.
quick.
Mitsugi, how you feeling about that?
It's going awfully quick this year. It's feels like it was just like August 2 seconds ago, and now it's already October. So, October 2nd when we're doing this. And I just realized just now I saved myself completely. I realized that this is actually Papa Mitz's birthday. So I better call his ass when we get that.
Yes.
Oh my God. So save myself. But hey, I'm glad to be here. And holy shit, this is going to be a fun review of Cyberpunk.
Yes, and that will be coming up later on in the show. But before that, let's also talk about our social media where people can find us at twitch.tv/AAA podcast. We are live every Sunday at 5 p.m. EDT, and we already have a lot of people in the chat ready to go for another great episode, of course. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Discord, where there's a lot of talk about the new anime season, a lot of betting degenerates,
Betting.
you know, just... They are just going crazy.
Unreal. What do they bet?
There's a whole system. They are creating this whole system.
Oh my God.
And it's fantastic to see.
You can bet on Discord boosts. You can bet on Patreon boosts to help the podcast.
Oh,
you can
shit.
bet on Amazon wishlist funds to give Caroline more jelly beans or me
What?
whatever it is you buy.
This is
me.
happening right now.
I
Yes.
never asked for more
Oh
jelly
my
beans,
God.
but people are taking it upon themselves to prepare themselves to send me a 20-pound bag of jelly beans, and I really don't. Actually, it may
That's
not
a
be
lot
20
of
pounds.
jelly
It just may
beans.
be, no. I think it's like $20 worth of jelly beans,
Yeah,
but still
5-pound
a
bag.
lot of
That could be a lot,
of
too.
jelly beans in that. Yeah. I don't know how many
Wow.
pounds that is, but
This
There
is
is
fantastic.
no
don't-
problem here, but listener, you can be part of the solution and
Oh my
join
God.
in.
I had no idea.
what they really
That's
should have done
hilarious.
was stock up on these jelly beans after Easter happened, and then they would have they could have really gotten a bang from their buck. But yeah, so that's all happening, and you can join them in the degeneracy right there on Discord. And in addition to that, we got a new thing going on with Amazon that Mason mentioned a little bit. Mitsugi, do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, so actually, I took a lot of feedback from people over the last week. There's like I asked people what kinds of stuff they tend to buy on Amazon. And, it was brought up by Kazuo, actually, that, we should make an Amazon affiliates page because it's like a good way for people to support the podcast when they don't just have enough extra money to, subscribe or whatever. Because you can just click on these links that go to Amazon, and then when you buy stuff, the podcast gets a small percentage of whatever you buy. So I'm going to be putting that up on the Discord, and we'll see about the other social media, but perhaps. But it's just a fun way for you guys to help out the podcast if you can't afford to subscribe. It's like like toilet paper. You're gonna go buy that. You click on the link, boom, takes you there, and then there you go. The podcast gets $1 or something. So just a little reminder to check it out on the Discord.
All right. And with that, let's talk about what's coming up on the show today. We have our main topic, the big three of a genre, because we all know the big three of shonen, but we don't really talk about the big three of other genres out there for anime and manga and all that. So we are going to discuss our personal big three lists. Then we got Unexplored Pictures with Mason and the review of Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
Oh,
so
boy.
with that, let's get started with our big news of the week.
大ニュースです。It's time for big news of the week.
Yeah, so getting it started, I mentioned this last week on the podcast in the news break, I think, but I just wanted to mention it again. Japan is reopening to tourism, finally. So they are one of the only countries left that you still can't go to. And they've been on lockdown for 2.5 years now. So now everybody's been trying to go to Japan, like a lot of the listeners and even me. And on October 11th, they're going to open up. And you don't have to go with a tour group. You don't have to, be on a private or public tour or whatever. You can just go by yourself. So it's officially open. I don't know like how much stuff in Japan is actually going to be running. Like I don't know about that. You might want to look into it, but the Prime Minister of Japan said that we will lift the ceiling of the number of entrants into Japan, lift the ban on individual travel, and lift the ban on overseas visa travel. So hey, you can go pretty much, like this time by pretty much this time next week, you'll be able to go. And just like a reminder, the yen is still really weak against the dollar. It's 144.5 right now to the dollar, which is like insane. So like for most of the last 10 years, it's been at like 110 to the dollar. So, I did like the quick math. It's actually 31% cheaper to go to Japan right now than it usually is. So you might want to, so if you have the money, you might want to exchange that currency now. You can lock in like a ridiculous exchange rate, so just an idea. So that's it from me. Just a public service announcement, really.
I mean, I don't really have much either, except interest and now wanting to go to Japan. So hopefully that can be organized.
It might stay this way for a while. Like I don't know. So it may not matter.
Yeah.
But
because you do want to wait a little while to get the businesses up and running, but once Japan is fully running, then that currency is probably going to get a little bit more valuable. So
yeah, I think so too.
Anywho, I don't really have much to talk about today, but Mason, you can go right on ahead.
Mason's turn.
Yeah, this one goes out to all the One Piece fans in the Discord and listeners, because there's a lot of you guys. You guys just come out of the woodwork every time new One Piece comes out. But announcement that One Piece is now the 6th all-time highest-grossing anime film in Japan. The One Piece film Red, the 15th movie in the series, sold over 11 million tickets for over 15.7 billion yen, which equates to about $100 million, and now has surpassed Studio Ghibli's Ponyo as the number 6 all-time highest-earning anime film in Japan.
I never liked Ponyo that much anyway.
Well, that's fair enough. But so right now the list goes number 1, way out in the front of the pack, as we all know, is Demon Slayer Mugen Train, followed by Spirited Away, Your Name, Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, and now One Piece film Red. It still has about 4 billion to go to reach Howl's Moving Castle, so not sure if it's going to crack the top 5. But hey, good for One Piece. It's the highest grossing film of the franchise so far, and it's 11th all-time highest earning film in Japan, period. So there's only, 5 regular films above it, so that's good. There's whole Uniqlo collaborations, and it's lined up to release stateside in November next month in US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are hyped for Film Red. I hope that this is a sign that it's pretty good, but hey, good for One Piece. Still just slinging.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm missing out by not following One Piece, because it's just, there's a lot of energy behind it all the time.
There's a lot of people on Discord that will immediately agree with you, Mitsuki.
But yeah, I don't know.
There are people that are getting so amped that none of us have seen or actively follow One Piece.
I don't know. I'm so tempted. I'm so tempted.
The question is, Mitz, is it worth the time investment?
Probably
and people
not.
will say, of course it is. But I mean, that's why I stopped. The enjoyment I was getting, while a good series, while impressive, just wasn't worth the payoff of the time it took to watch. If I do go back to One Piece, I'm probably never going to go to the anime series. Like, I'll probably just read the manga and watch the films, but it's too much time. So I appreciate the love for it, and it is well earned and well beloved, and
Yeah.
Oda is just a king. But
Yeah.
I'm good for now. But I want to give it its due because it's
Yeah.
number one for a reason.
And I guess it makes sense that the Ghibli films on there, The Spirited Away and The Howl's Moving Castle and The Princess Mononoke, I guess that makes sense because I guess if I went and checked our poll, I'm pretty sure those are probably, I think this might have been the top 3 in the poll anyway. So I guess that makes sense that they're at the top of the box office too.
Yeah. So that's all I had. And if you're wondering, 15.7 billion yen, that's a lot of money. That's probably right up next to number one with Mugen Train. Demon Slayer is at over 40 billion, so
Oh my God.
don't get your hopes up, One Piece fans. We
Yeah,
still got a
it's
while to go.
crazy. Yeah, pump the brakes.
Yeah, but nope, it's been out for about 2 months now in Japan, so it's probably starting to wind down. And that's about it. But now we can move pretty quickly, pretty aptly along, because I think this will be a back-heavy episode.
I'm interested in this. Okay.
This is a topic called Big Three of a Genre, as Caroline alluded to. Everyone knows the big three of shonen. You have One Piece, fittingly, Bleach, and Naruto. And for the record, these are not the best 3 shonen of all time. That's not what makes it a big 3. The fact is, these 3 manga were simultaneously publishing in Shonen Jump, and they were the cornerstone, they were the blueprint of the conversation at the time. They kind of defined the zeitgeist of the 2000s for shonen. And so my plan with this topic is, anime doesn't exist in the same sphere as manga. Manga will come out for years, and that equates to 1 season or 1 year of anime. So we're not going to have the same exact criteria, but the goal here is to come up with 3 shows that best define a genre or category of anime that came out about the same time within a few years of one another, that were a major contributor to the discussion, community, and culture of anime at that time. So my very abstract example of this is, if you were talking about who are the big 3 Chicago Bull players, you wouldn't say Jordan, Rose, and Love, because those are all great players, maybe the best 3 ever, but they're from the 90s, from the 2010s, from the 60s. You need to go Jordan, Rod, and Pippen kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, right.
Yeah, because
Definitely.
they all existed at the same time. So with that in mind, and if you have any suggestions in the chat,
Caroline's like, I get this portrait. Eat your jelly beans.
Jelly bean.
You should just keep a tally and then just cram 40 of them in your face.
Exactly.
No, I can't
all
do
at once.
that.
Oh, people would love it. People would love that.
Is there's something called a mukbang or something like that. It's a trend where you get people just eating
Ooh,
a
what?
ton of food. It's like a big YouTube thing.
I can't watch people eat
I've never
food.
really watched them, but
Oh, man.
yeah.
if you want to
I'd imagine this is basically what you're thinking of.
If you want to fund Caroline's mukbang or a podcast trip to Japan, please support us.
I could not listen. I could not.
Can we have our
survive.
own podcast currency of jelly beans?
Let me just tell you. Let me just tell you something.
How many jelly beans equal 1 monster?
I love drinking the Monster. I don't know. I don't know, a dozen. I don't know. But I could not survive as a person 10 minutes of watching myself eat with a lot of focus. I would just not survive that mentally. I think that would break me completely.
Okay, well, as interesting as this food discussion is,
I'm sorry.
maybe we should get back to the big 3. No, it's okay. We are all guilty. Anywho,
Gotcha.
All right.
So
where shall we start?
We've arranged a bunch of genres / tags, and we're just gonna try to make our best guess, and you guys will vouch on if we did well and who did the best. It's a competition,
much
not
chat,
really.
Much making fun of us in the chat if you don't like it.
Exactly.
I'm
So
not for that.
what do we want to begin with? Do we just want to go down the list?
Yeah, I think we should just go down the list.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, the first one, the most opposite end of the spectrum, is shoujo. So this is anime aimed at younger female audiences. Let's start with Mitz. You know, he's a
like
great
this.
connoisseur of shoujo. What are your big three?
I like this because like we don't know what each other pick, right? So I'm wondering if there's going to be a duplicate. I tried to pick most
Probably.
of mine from
I
like
hope
the
so.
same. I tried to make sure that all of mine were within like the same 3 to 4 year time period because I was trying to follow the rules as best I could. So I chose. Let me see what like the year exactly is this. I gotta look all these up. So the first one is Vision of Escaflowne. I picked because it's top of mind because we've been watching this a little bit lately. Vision of Escaflowne is a shoujo mecha anime that came out in the mid 90s. Came out like 96, and it's probably best known for its music because Rumiko Takahashi and Maya Sakamoto did so much of the music to it. My next one is His Inner Circumstances. This one came out pretty much just like a little bit after Escaflowne did, and it's like a romance, like a Horimiya type, school romance. Came out in 1998, and then my last one was Full Moon o Sagashite, which is a super depressing show from also the same time period about a girl who like wants to be a singer, but she gets throat cancer. So in order to make her a singer, like these Shinigami like give her a power to transform into like an adult where she has no illness. It's really like depressing, but kind of weird and heartwarming too. What did you guys pick?
I've never heard of Full Moon, I'll be honest.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I feel like although I can't say for certainty because I'm not huge into shoujo, I feel like
That's fair.
all the genres, I feel like I needed to have heard of them in order to put them on the list. I put down Fruits Basket, Sailor Moon,
Oh, so
and
good.
Nana.
Oh, those are great.
Yeah, I'm finding manga / anime or whatever the original source material it stems from within the same period of time was a little bit hard. But even so, that doesn't even mean much. It has to be in the zeitgeist. It has to be talked about in the same period of time.
Yeah, exactly.
So something could have interest in a property could have surged long after it's been out, but that's hard to really research. So yeah, I put down Fruits Basket, Sailor Moon, and Nana because they all, for different reasons, really itch that shoujo genre for a lot of people, and that's kind of what I feel like they will immediately think of when they think shoujo.
And those all kind of hit on different like spectrums of the shoujo, what people go to it for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So obviously I would have loved to pick Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor and stuff like that, but they were kind of from different eras and different time periods. I tried to keep mine, for the most part, all pretty nice and tidy. So my three shoujo, we have 2006, Ouran High School Host Club. Also from 2006 is Nana. And also from not from 2006, from 2007 is Lovely Complex. So those, a little bit on the older side of shoujo, were towing the line, but all very, very great shoujo series from a very set time period. So I don't know. Mitz is making faces at me.
There's a
Okay, so sorry,
no,
go ahead.
I was just looking at the duplicates, and you guys both picked Nana. So does that mean Nana is the winner?
Again, I think I
No.
might have chose something different for shoujo, except for that one big thing where I wanted to keep it within a couple of years of each other.
And you did it based on the source material or based on the anime release?
The source. So like if I was for everything on this list, some of them were actually anime originally. That I put on the list. Otherwise, I chose everything from the source material date.
Gotcha. Yeah, I went by the anime airing date because
Yeah.
it's an anime podcast.
It's okay. It's really not that big a deal.
Yeah,
but
it's no hard and fast rules.
yes. So with that, do we
move
choose a
on?
winner, or do we have the others choose
Well,
the winner?
we can just assess on which of us did the best.
Oh, I have no idea. Probably not.
I don't know if we'll have a way.
I'm not
Nah, it's
familiar
fine.
with Lovely Complex.
We don't need to.
Yeah,
Doesn't-
there's
I don't
no
think it's
winners.
needed.
We all win. We all win.
Vote in the Twitch chat who wins.
Well,
Because we don't do everybody wins.
I think
here.
Caroline, you're getting the votes.
Oh, there
Really?
you go. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I think
yay.
so. I mean,
Maybe
Fruits
it's just
Basket
because I'm
and Sailor
basic.
Moon are, I'd say, more important shoujo series.
I mean, Caroline is a girl,
They
so she
didn't
should
come out
win
at
this
the same
category.
time from anime. So, yeah.
Just because
You got
I'm a
one
girl.
for Mitz.
Honestly, you two probably know more shoujo than I do.
I mean,
considering
I mean,
went with the most basic choices.
I mean, literally, the word shoujo means young girl. I think so.
Well, yeah, I'm a girl, but you guys, I don't know about Escaflowne or Karikano or Full Moon
I
or
think you'd like all of these
Lovely
shows.
Complex. Maybe I would, but I
Yeah.
have not gotten into them.
My laptop is freaking out right now.
Ooh, exciting. What's next? Mecha.
Mecha.
Ooh.
Mecha is next. So, for me on my list, I picked all shows also like pretty much from the late 90s. The first one was obviously Evangelion. I mean, that was, I don't know. It's almost a default to me that Evangelion would make this list. And again, I picked Vision of Escaflowne. It is a mecha.
You love that anime. You love it so much.
I mean, it is good. Like, so my Google Chrome just crashed. I knew it. I knew it was gonna crash. Yeah, Vision of Escaflowne is, it's from the same time period and as Evangelion for the most part, and it's also really good. So, and it just happened to be the two genres. And then Gundam Wing. I actually haven't seen Gundam Wing. Not enough of it to like do a review on it, but I know that it was really big on Toonami during that like heyday of Toonami with Dragon Ball and etc. and Rurouni Kenshin and all the rest. So I do think it was influential when it was because of its like just exposure to kids during that time period. So those are the three that I picked.
Okay, well, I actually had two sets of mecha, so maybe I'll give one of them to Caroline so she can take credit for it. How about that?
Oh, you have another list?
Oh, there was two eras of mecha that I was deciding between.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah, because
I'll go-
I couldn't really, put thoughts on them because I've seen some mecha, but not enough to really
Gotcha.
know what I'm talking about.
Well, I gave you
but-
the more modern set if you want to take those.
All right, so with your second ranked list that you put together, you put
backup
Eureka
list.
7, Code Geass, and Gurren Lagann. Which, yeah, I'd say that's a pretty decent list. I don't know
Code
much
Geass
about your
is
Eureka
huge.
7, but,
Gurren
of course,
Lagann.
Code Geass. And, of course, Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
So that was 2005, 2006, 2007. So
Is Gurren Lagann a trigger show?
it is.
I
Well,
think so.
it's Gainax.
Is it the cat? Is it basically the employees from Gainax that like left and made another studio and thus it is Trigger pretty much?
Yeah, it's essentially Trigger. Like it is Imaishi doing his thing. So it's often
talk about that
considered
later.
a Trigger show. Yeah.
Yeah.
My OG mecha list, I have to go
OG.
way back. 1979, Mobile Suit Gundam. You can't not have Gundam
Yeah.
in the list.
Yeah.
1980,
That's true.
Astro Boy. It's a little different kind of mecha, but I'm counting it because you gotta have Tezuka. And then 1981, just another year later, is Voltron, which I think was a little bigger in the States,
I forgot about Voltron.
but that was a cool show.
yeah,
I had
that was-
Voltron action
Ooh.
figures. I didn't even know what it came from.
When
I
did
just liked
Voltron?
it.
When did Voltron come out? I gotta look this up because
I mean, OG was 81.
oh my god, wow, it must have hung around for a while then because I definitely had a lot of exposure to Voltron when I was like a little
Yeah.
kid. So it must have hung around for like 8-9 years because that came out 4 years before I was born. So
Yeah, cool. Mecha, it's kind of dead nowadays, but
yeah, it's hurting.
it's never. You still have SSSS Gridman and Dynazenon and all those other Trigger shows.
Darling in the Franxx. Attack on Titan.
Mecha meat suits. You love to see it.
I feel like there's a lot of shows that have like a mecha element here and there, but
Yeah.
less of shows where the whole point is that they're in robots. Like Ava or one of those. So it's interesting. We do have a Gundam show this season though, so maybe that's not true. Maybe that's not true.
And how good is it?
We'll find out.
Oh,
All
you're
right,
being
so
too kind.
people in the chat, choose who you prefer for your mecha top 3 lists.
It looks like a tie.
Something very
It looks like a
important.
tie between Mitz and I.
Well, of course, between Mitz and you, because I didn't come up with
You
anything.
didn't pick. Oh, that's funny. All right, what's the next
All
category?
right.
Well, the next one I had was for idol shows, but no one else had a submission. So I'm going to win
Basically,
by
the only
default.
idol show I've
Say.
seen is Zombieland Saga.
Oh my god,
That's
I
not
just
a bad
didn't
show,
know.
though.
It's
I
a
just
good
didn't
show.
know.
I'm just saying I haven't seen enough.
I mean, I was
Yeah.
almost tempted to say like K-On! Almost, because they're kind of, I don't know, they're
It's a rock band, Mitsugi.
yeah, I know, but like I don't know. I guess that's more moe than it is anything.
Well, we will get to that, much to Mitsugi's chagrin. But for idol,
Yes, I know.
had to go with the classics. 2011, The Idol Master. 2012, AKB 48, and 2013, Love Live School Idol Project. So I bet even if you haven't seen any of those shows, you're like, I've heard of all of those. And I feel like they were the
Yeah.
igniting match of a lot of what Idol came to be. Like, obviously, Idol was always a thing between like a little bit that was infused into like Macross back in the day, but the massive cast of
That's true.
girls singing with questionable CG choreography was established in the 2011s.
Man, do you think that? How old is the oldest Macross show?
The oldest?
Yeah, because
Isn't that like late 80s, early 90s?
I'm gonna look this up
Yeah.
because and
80s, I thought.
1982. Yeah, 1982. Wow. So does that mean? Do you think Macross is the oldest anime to feature idols? Period.
No.
I'm gonna
No.
Google that because I mean, there's not a whole lot of like, there's not that many anime before 1982. Maybe like just a few
True.
hundred.
I guess it depends on how you define idol, but I feel like idol culture in Japan got big in like the 70s. But
Oh,
it's
I guess
just
they're
slowly been ramping up.
Creamy Mommy. Yeah,
Creamy mommy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't. It's actually not a hentai.
It's not what it sounds like.
Okay, okay.
It is a
I'm like, did I hear that correctly?
Oh my god, that's fun. That is fucking funny.
We just need a drop
Oh,
of Caroline being like, creamy mommy?
oh my god.
Thanks, I'll have another.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So I guess there are shows that are really old. All right, what's next?
Next up, we have isekai. You know, a
Oh,
little
man.
up and coming genre that is trying to get its foot in the door. What do we think are the big three of this?
my
Caroline,
God.
do you want to start?
Okay. So I made this list and I also added another list for specifically trapped in a video game because there are too
is
many
funny.
trapped in a video game anime that are regarded as isekais, which I mean, I can see the argument for, but since there are so many of them, it deserves its own category. So for pure unadulterated isekai, I put down ReZero, Konosuba, and that time I was reincarnated as a slime.
Oh boy, this is pretty funny, because I was a hair away from picking the exact same three shows.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So why did you put ReZero on the list? Because I also have it on my list.
I don't know. I just think that so many people talked about ReZero, and
Yeah.
there really isn't much other reasons for it. And also the fact that I feel like these three kind of exemplify different things. Like I guess Konosuba and the slime anime is kind of similar, but Konosuba hits more of the comedy and slime hits more of the slice of life. ReZero is just its own monster right there.
Yeah, slime
because-
was the one I was going to ask you about because ReZero and Konosuba make sense, and not that slime is small, but I was
Yeah.
just curious.
I don't know. I
So-
think I hit a lot of problems with trying to find a third anime that kind of comes into that same time period. And again with the source material, yeah, I just got very in my head about it, and yeah, you can probably see that with a couple other things on my list that I kind of threw in a weird third one.
So the
Sometimes you only have a big 2 of a genre, and you need to slip
Yeah.
another one in.
Well, also, I kind of like I think of just one singular big one of a genre, and then I kind of based it all around that time period.
That's fair.
Yeah, and of course for isekai, I would have thought Sword Art Online. I could have gone down that route, but then I made that other category for it. So I think my next thought was ReZero, because that isn't trapped in a video game, and it also comes a problem that a lot of isekai, while not being trapped in a video game, are trapped in a video game style with levels and skills and all that, which the other two kind of embody. So yeah.
So most of the shows you picked have a lot of people have watched them. So the Slime Show is actually the least watched, which is, I guess, somewhat surprising. 89th most watched. And then Konosuba at 38th most watched. And ReZero 24th most. So ReZero is like, it's up there, like towards the top.
Oh, of course. It's a juggernaut for a reason.
Giant. So yeah. So I picked that as well, and I also picked Konosuba. But I was so close to picking the Slime anime. Honestly, I was. And then I decided that No Game, No Life. I just had a lot more people have seen it. I'm not personally much of a fan of No Game, No Life, to be honest with you. But it seems influential enough, and it's stuck around for a while. And
for sure. And I'd say if it had a second season, it would be more popular than Slime, for sure.
Yeah,
I think if it got the follow-ups it wanted, or it needed, I should say.
Yeah. So what did you pick, Mason?
Well, I guess I originally had another list, but I will move that to my video game one because that's different. I'm going to go with almost the same thing that you guys are doing, but I'm going to bunch it a little bit closer. I'll go with 2016's ReZero, 2016's Konosuba, and 2015's Overlord. I feel like that has had a lot of staying power. It's on this like 4th season, and it's just grinding it out. And I liked it more than like Slime, so I'm gonna go with that. So it sounds like we all know Konosuba and ReZero are like the kings of the Isekai Castle. If we're differentiating video game stuff, and you have a bundle of other ones to go with. So we'll go with that. So I guess that leads us to, I guess we just have to decide
spin-off.
if you like, No Game, No Life, Slime, or Overlord as your other isekai thing. I feel like No Game, No Life has much more conversation about it, but anyway, trapped in the video game. Caroline, you wanted this to be a thing, so what'd you go with?
Okay, as soon as I clear out the highlighter on this thing, and there we go. Okay, trapped in a video game. Of course, we have SAO, and then we have Log Horizon and Overlord.
Okay, so pretty much merging our lists together. Because my list would be...
Well, it's a muddled genre, so...
Yeah. I would go with Sword Art Online, Log Horizon, but go with Excel World instead of Overlord.
Okay. Yeah, it's just... yeah, maybe.
They're a little bit closer, like, to 2012, 2013. So, I was trying to be...
But you're doing that based on the anime, right?
Yeah.
I'm doing this based on the source material instead. So, with that, I don't remember when Excel World came out, but I think Overlord is closer in terms of those rules.
Probably.
Honestly, I was I was sitting here this morning, and I was trying to do this category, and I just couldn't come up with anything. And I'm looking at the genre of trapped in a video game on Anime Planet, like this website, and I haven't seen most of these, honestly. Overlord, Log Horizon, Sword Art, Skeleton Knight.
Yeah, because I was doing my research, and I keep on finding lists that random websites put together, and they'll put things like Rising of the Shield Hero. Like, no, he's not trapped in a video game.
Yeah, exactly.
If anything, he's trapped in a book. And they'll take the fact that these isekais use stats and those kind of MMO references and act as if that's the same as being trapped in a video game, which technically they are not.
There's not really that many of them on here, so I'm not sure this is like a full list, but I don't know. To me, to me personally, Dot Hack was enough to be a big 3 for this genre. Like, this is all I think of.
I was thinking about it too.
This is all I think of when I think of this genre is Dot Hack. And you can put like Dot Hack roots in there or whatever you want, but
all the various
I
dot
don't know,
hacks.
yeah, all the
Dot
numerous
hack,
yeah.
fragment, enemy, sign,
limitation,
legend,
or
liminality, whatever,
liminality,
gift. I don't remember all of them.
I don't know. So I gotta
There's
go with
1,000.
this. Plus the ones that are on this list on this website that I've seen, which is like Reincarnated, Demon King Show, Zion Saga, which I absolutely hate. Then there's like How to Not Summon a Demon Lord, which is pretty much just like ecchi. I don't think a lot of these shows that I've seen are that good, so I'm just gonna go with Dot Hack.
That's not part of the rules, though. It doesn't have to be good. It
Then
just
I
has
withdraw.
to be talked about.
Then I withdraw because I can't come up with enough.
What's the big 3 of creamy mommy shows? What's?
Yeah, there are like
That's
a
for the
bunch of
hentai episode after this.
Oh my god!
You should do the big 3 of hentai.
Creamy Mommy does sound like a hentai, or like a stripper.
Mako alert on the screen for those who watch on Twitch.
Oh, there he is.
You see the boy.
Oh, he's
so graceful.
Here he
He's so
comes.
amazing.
Oh my God. He's looking for things to knock off. If I put my hat up there, my Pope hat, I bet he'll knock it off.
Give it a try.
Take bets.
All right,
Take bets
who's
now.
next?
Next up, we have your favorite category, moe / cute girls doing cute things, which of course Mitsugi has kept himself out of.
Yeah, he did not feel that it deserved his effort, his ordainments.
I yeeted right out of that one.
So this one specifically, I could think of 2 good ones and not a third one. So my first very 2 good ones, K-On, of course, and Nanan Biori. And for a third one, to throw it in there, Hinamatsuri. Because it is kind of moe, and it was in the same time period as the other mangas, or light novels, or wherever they came from. But yeah, it's not like part of that major zeitgeist, but to me it was. So I threw it in there.
Well, that was kind of part of why I wanted to do.
You see that?
The Madman did it.
Yep, the cat knocked the hat off. I put it up there for him.
Oh, I missed it.
He knocked it off.
Just quick.
And now he's looking at it.
You'll watch it in the delay.
Now he's looking down
yes,
upon
I see it. Oh.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Now there's a fluffy beast behind you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had to mention that.
No, you can't.
That basically said everything I needed
to. Let's see. Oh, yes. We were talking. Well, one reason why I thought this topic would be interesting is because, when we first started watching, we had different shows that were being talked about in the zeitgeist. Like, when I started watching in like the mid 2010s, these were the kind of shows that I heard the community talk about. So in my mind, these were the big shows and what I associated with those genres. And seeing how Mitsuki from back in the day or Caroline more recently associated with those shows, I thought would be interesting. But my big three moe shows, 2007. 2007 is where you go for where all of Mitsuki's pain and nightmares began. 2007
How can you even do this to me?
gave you Manabi Straight, Hidamari Sketch, and Lucky Star. 1 year.
Lucky
Star. It's all downhill from there.
Lucky Star was so big.
It
Lucky
was.
Star
I
is
was thinking
good,
about
though.
putting on
It's
the list,
so
but again, I
good.
couldn't find a full list, so couldn't put that on
That's
there.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I obviously
it's the
didn't
thing.
do. I didn't do 3, so Caroline, I guess you're up one.
Oh no, she went. We can move on. We can put that behind us, Mitz. You're past. You can open your eyes.
I did.
Now
It's over.
let's go to the thing that really makes your heart go doki doki.
Oh my god.
Sports.
All right. Well, who wants to go first?
I think
you
you
go
should, Mitz.
first.
Okay. Well, recently we have been watching a lot of Initial D, and actually we got to the end of Initial D pretty much. We watched all the way through the 4th stage, which is there's a lot of stages in this anime. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 different things with a word and then stage. But Initial D is just so great. It came out in 1998, which 1998 is like, holy crap, that's a good year for anime. It's like, I think it might be the same year that Cowboy Bebop came out too. But that's a really great show. And then Major is like, so it's like came out right around that time, and that to me that's the best baseball anime. It's just like the most shonen, you know. And then also Hajime no Ippo. I think that like a lot of people will agree that manga is so big. It's like was like in the top 10 of all time maybe for manga sales, the boxing anime, and I think that I'm gonna try to show that one to Pancake next because we need another like long show to
So
watch.
good. It's so
God,
fantastic.
it's so good. It's so it's so like inspirational. That's what I feel when I watch Hajime no Ippo. So that's mine.
My list is full of exclamation points. So
Yeah,
we have
hilarious.
Haikyuu! Exclamation point, exclamation point. Free! Exclamation point. And Keijo with like 7 exclamation points.
Oh my
Sorry,
God.
8, I think.
I thought it was 8.
Yeah.
That is so
yeah,
funny.
I think it's 8.
Is that like a trope for shonen shows?
Okay, so I know what people might be thinking is that I really wanted to put Keijo on this list, but no, I was like legitimately looking for another sports show to put on this list. But Haikyuu Free and Keijo's source material all came out at around the same time. They all have exclamation points, and Haikyuu and Free were just no-brainers for me. So
I guess
How'd
they're
you
not
go
really
for
shonen, are they? I guess, but they are sports. So I guess maybe it's a sports trope. Oh boy, that was funny.
Well, I almost echoed Caroline's list, but since I was going off anime release dates, I have Haikyuu, Free, and Kuroko no Basket. So I was not as limited with having to go with Keijo for the exclamation mark meme, but
I really didn't mean to do it on purpose. It's just how it happened, and I couldn't think of a third.
you're like, I'm going with this. I'm just going to send it. Yeah, these 3 shows I think were a huge resurgence in the pretty boys do sports, but also they're really good sports and they're really well animated.
Oh my God.
Cool. They're fun.
You guys were so close.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
another thing about the Keijo thing, I knew that the popularity really came in with the anime, so it kind of screwed up my thought process.
So funny.
So yeah. But
Keijo.
last one.
Yeah, I would say Mitsuki's sports list is full of better shows, but I guess they're just too old. No one talks about them. They're dead. They're dead shows.
When we are thinking about the conversation where the anime that just dominated the conversation of the time, it's got to be the Haikyuu era.
Yeah, it probably
of
was.
sports shows.
Yeah. And also, I realized I did a really bad job on this category, so I do
No,
apologize.
it's not a bad job.
Well,
if you're
because-
thinking about a certain time period, then those are certainly very
Well,
relevant.
The reason why I say that is because Major is a little newer. It's actually 6 years after. What was the one on my list? So it was 6 years after Initial D. So.
Well, you could say it's like
It's kind of a long
the like second stage or third stage, and Hajime no Ippo
Well, I
second
mean-
season part 3. Like we could make it work, you know.
There are like
Though
47 of them.
Mitsuki, you could be happy that I decided not to put what's it called? That one that you say is not a sports show.
Oh, Chihayafu.
Chihayafu.
Chihayafu,
Oh, you should have.
yes,
That would have been
yes,
so
yes.
good.
That's what I was thinking about doing.
That would have been such a
can't
good
remember
troll.
I can't remember if that was in the Haikyuu Free
Oh.
manga era or
It probably-
not. But
Ooh,
yeah.
We'd have to look that up.
maybe
But that came out
the
pretty far
second
apart, I
season.
think.
let me look it up. I'm curious
Yeah.
now. I think the second season, because Haikyuu and Free, those were like 2013, 2014, like that region.
Why don't you start on the next category, Caroline?
Okay.
While
Well,
he- while
Mason's
he
looking that
efforts
up.
Yeah, it'd be the second season of Chihayafu. That was 2013. So it'd be right alongside Free and Haikyuu. So you could have done
Okay,
it.
so it kind of works. If we are in the mode of just making Mitsuki pissed off. Okay, so let's get to our last category here.
Yeah.
Maho Shoujo. So magical girl anime. What are the big 3? And I put down Sailor Moon, again, Cardcaptor Sakura, and Revolutionary Girl Utena.
Those are really good picks. My God, Sailor
Yeah.
Moon's so big. It's so big.
Yeah, so I was thinking again with the manga sales. I think Revolutionary Girl might be a little bit off, but even so, I feel like
check
they're all part of that same time period. So
Wow. Yeah. Do you guys think that Sailor Moon is the biggest magical girl show?
Probably. Mason,
like,
your
franchise?
microphone is off.
Thank you. I would agree. Sailor Moon is probably at least the most enduring, both iconographically and just what it meant to people. But I found like from an anime
46
release
million.
date, it was kind of by itself. Like it really was an island. It didn't have any peers to go along with it, you know?
So it's got Sailor Moon did 46 million manga sales. I mean, that's a lot. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot in front of that, but it's still but not a lot. That puts it in like the top 50. So
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But like I go to the gym and I see people with Sailor Moon stickers on their water bottles, on their car, Sailor Moon t-shirts all the time. Like it's just a cool aesthetic that has endured through the years, and a lot of people grew up with it. Like, of course it's massive. But
Like even my little sister, who has like just turned her nose up at all things anime, no matter how much we talk about it. Even she has Sailor Moon things. Like we grew up with Sailor Moon as like kids, so I wouldn't say like that was weird that we watched it as kids, and that was, even if she's not into anime, that's not the weird part. The fact that she still has Sailor Moon stuff to this day, just it's a genre breaker.
Yeah, I think like my mom knows Sailor Moon. Well, maybe she doesn't.
Your mom knows everything and nothing
No,
at all at the same
she
time.
knows absolutely not. I think I asked her what color Sailor Moon's hair was once on a question. I don't think she knew it. So, okay.
Yeah, so I kind of had two eras for magical girl shows. One a little bit later, like Sailor Moon could be included in this list, but I was trying not to because it went on for so long. But Magic Knight Wraith, Cardcaptor Sakura, and Magical Doremi, like back in the end of the 90s, like in the post Sailor Moon era, those three were massive. And then for a more modern version, like from 2010 to 2012, you had the Heartcatch and Sweet Precure series, you had Madoka Magica, and you had Symphogear, which are all very different takes on magical girls, but it definitely was the whole reinvention of what the genre could be. And everyone learned what the word deconstruction was and how to use it improperly in a sentence. But it was a revival of sorts. So, yeah, magical girl. Cool.
Man, I like Symphogear. It was a lot of fun. Hibiki or whatever the main girl's name was, she was really spunky. I liked her. She was feisty. On our Twitch, I don't want to get Benno Itos said that I should have put Slam Dunk in there instead of Major. That would have been a better fit because I think Slam Dunk was like 95 or so, or 96. So I just want to make that note because he was right, or she maybe. Is that it?
I think so.
I think that's it. It's sometimes tough because there's so many genres where you're like, well, this was a massive show. And you go and there's like not much else like around it that was like a huge talking point. So I don't know. This was fun.
Somebody suggested that we could have put club as a genre, like club shows, which
God.
I mean, of course, would be Haruhi Suzumiya, and that's number one. But the other two, I'm not sure.
What
I
else
think they
came out
mentioned
around
K-On!
Haruhi?
As being. Oh, I have no idea. I haven't even seen Haruhi.
Oh, it's my favorite show that I don't like.
God, the rock
Like,
band scene in that is so good.
I
So
love
stupid.
so much of Haruhi conceptually, but I just don't enjoy watching it.
What a dichotomy of feelings for Haruhi.
Kyoto Animation had just so much balls to go for so many of the wild things they did, from the achronological order to the endless eight to just
God, I hate
dicking
that.
with the fans and just the massive like cultural phenomenon that it was, and they went
So
with it.
you
It was so
respect
cool.
Haruhi, but you dislike Haruhi.
I respect Haruhi and gave it an all right score because of that, but I didn't enjoy watching it and wouldn't recommend it to most people.
I hate the mixing up the episodes crap. I think it's such pretentious bullshit.
I love that. I love that.
God, how? Oh my God! It's why make the viewer go through that effort? Like why?
I think the last time I got really
no.
irritated with that was with humanity has declined. Because I'm like, what's the point? What was the point in mixing up all the episodes?
The Endless 8. They're talking about the Endless 8 on Twitch. I have not seen that.
I genuinely enjoyed the Endless 8.
Yes,
Why
we
is it
have
supposed to be
Endless 8 gives me PTSD. I
Why,
swear.
though?
Endless 8 sucks.
I love
love
it. I love
Haruhi,
that.
but still.
Why though?
Those are the feelings. I don't know. It's probably just
Boring.
the balls
I
on
guess.
them.
Because they have the balls to make disappearance hit that much harder. There's a plethora of reasons why they could do it. But the fact that they did do it, the fact that someone in a meeting said, guys, wouldn't it be funny? Now hear me out. Wouldn't it be really funny if we just re-show the episode 8 times?
What?
And they're like, that'll save budget.
That's what
And
they
he's like,
did?
No, we're not gonna re-show it. We're gonna remake it 8 times. We're going to completely reanimate the same scenes.
That's what they
over
did?
and over.
So it's not even that they just
my God.
reutilized old cells or whatever.
No.
They went and redid
That's so
They
fucking
redid-
dumb.
they
same episode.
They re-recorded all
genius.
the voicing and everything. Slight differences just in the flavor of things, just to keep you on your toes. Oh my goodness, I love that exists. The fact that we got that is amazing.
I feel like the only way to get through that and keep your sanity is to watch that or watch each of those episodes with a long period of time in between. So like maybe an Endless 8 episode per month.
The way I always describe it is, so my mom back in the day would watch a ton of Lifetime movies. Have you ever watched a Lifetime movie?
Yeah.
I have not seen them, but I have seen many, many commercials for
If
them.
you have
And
watched
how
one
freaking
Lifetime movie,
ridiculous. They
you've watched
all
every
look and
Lifetime
sound.
movie. They're all exactly the same. Uncomfortably white cast people fall in love, fall out of love, fall back in love stories. Like it's just the same formula ad nauseum. And
My favorite thing is the titles of each of these movies.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
they're so dumb and hilarious.
yeah, fall will come out and it'll be a new season of Fall into Love, and it'll be like, oh my goodness, and it's terrible, it's awful, it's
No, it gets
bad
even worse than
entertainment.
that.
Oh, I'm sure
Like,
it is.
There are I look up a list of the worst Lifetime titles,
What the?
and you are in for a wonderful time.
What is going on?
But it's comfortable. It's comforting
Okay.
to watch that because you know what you're getting. And Endless 8 kind of scratches that itch. And it makes Disappearance a little bit more rewarding, which is a phenomenal anime movie, bar none. So anyway, that's our list of the big 3 of
Wow.
genres and Haruhi.
There was a lot to unload about Haruhi tonight.
Yeah.
This wasn't
I
even
never-
part of the main
I never
topic.
expected this. I gotta say, I never expected it.
Yeah. What a time. All right, so sorry, I don't have my screen up right. Okay, there we go. In Cyberpunk, what is the proper name for the currency informally referred to as eddies? That is your weekly trivia question. We will give you the answer right after the news
God,
break.
It's so difficult. See you guys. Hey, anime addicts, strap yourself in. It's time for your anime news break. Actually, starting off with a little bit of video game news. Google is shutting down the Stadia cloud-based gaming platform officially on January 18th. So they announced that they will be refunding all purchases for the console made through the Google Store. The vice president of Stadia, Phil Harrison, added that the platform just hasn't gained the traction with users that they were expecting. They added that he sees the possibility of applying the underlying technology of Stadia to other Google services in the future, but it just seems like the Stadia launch that happened in November 19th, 2019, just hasn't had the sort of financial backing and user base that they were hoping for. So, a big failure on the part of Google, and that's about all there is to say about that. Next up, and a big kick in the dick to Kingdom fans. It has been announced at the finishing of the 4th season of the very popular both anime and manga franchise Kingdom that the 5th season of Kingdom will be coming out in the winter of 2024. That's right, nothing to make your fans suffer. telling them that they're going to have to wait more than 2 calendar years for the next season of their anime. It's a long time to be counting down the days, people. So if you are a fan of this property, which is originally based on the manga by Yasuhisa Hara, which shipped its 66th volume in the Young Jump magazine on September 16th. Look out for apparently Kingdom coming out, sometime like 30 months from now. Next up, Ars no Koju, an original anime, has been announced for winter of 2023. The internet company DMM.com and the animation studio Asahi Production announced that this original title, Giant Beast of Ars, is going to be coming out in, not too long from now, from director Akira Okudo of Namu Amida Butsu and, again, studio Asahi Production. This is going to be it looks like a pretty interesting action series, maybe sci-fi fantasy. There's no synopsis here for it, but you won't have to wait long as it's going to be coming out in January. And next up and lastly for the news today, Hataraku Mao-sama, or The Devil is a Part-Timer, which had its second season go over like a bunch of wet noodles, has had another sequel announced for 2023. So on the 12th and final episode of the second season, it was announced, that the third season will be coming out. The anime does adapt Satoshi Wagahara's fantasy light novel, which originally began as a novel submission under the title The Devil's Castle within a 6 tatami room. Well, this 3.5 million volume in print property is going to be continuing in its anime format. This is Mitsuki, and this was your anime news break. And now, as always, time to get back to the podcast. Hey, Anime Addicts, we have some big news for you. Sometime in the next week, we will be launching our Amazon affiliates account. Hey, we understand that times are tough. Everything's expensive. Food's expensive. Gas is expensive. Rent's expensive. Houses are impossible to buy. And, just living and breathing is unaffordable. But hey, at least you can help support the podcast however you can by when you go over to Amazon.com to buy your various items throughout your week or month. You can click on our link on our Discord and other social media platforms first. It'll take you straight to Amazon. You do your shopping, and you will be supporting the podcast by letting us have a small cut of the profit that Amazon receives. Hey, and you'll be given a big middle finger to Amazon as well, which everybody loves, giving a middle finger to your favorite bald guy. Get it? Yeah, because I'm bald. So keep those eyes peeled on our Discord or on our social media, wherever you follow us. For links to our Amazon affiliates, you'll be helping out the podcast so much. You'll be doing a good thing. And I'm going to shut up now, so it's time to get back to the podcast.
And now, great moments in Anime Addicts Anonymous history.
If the three of us are like horses pulling like a wagon, and the wagon is this podcast, written on the side of the wagon it says, watching anime, okay? And there's like these two badass fucking stallions that are Mandy and Mason, and they're in the front, and they're all like, I'm pulling this cart because I'm a horse. And that's what I do. Oh, and give me a carrot. And then Mitz is like, crippled. They thought about shooting me like the day before, but they're like, you know what?
We ate you.
He can still fucking try. But in reality, like along the way, I fell, and I'm just being dragged behind the two stallions. And at the end of the day, they're gonna shoot me and they're gonna eat me because this is the fucking Oregon Trail, and that's how things happen. So I don't know.
Oh shit, we all have dysentery.
I don't know what to tell you.
So since you mentioned Castlevania is great. That will be a great thing to watch on Friday, and I watched the whole thing one day.
It is great. Why do you have to tramp your carrot munching, shiny coated?
We have to cut you
so
loose.
hard.
We've been dragging you dead weight for so long. We have to just cut you loose.
Mandy's like, look at my mane, the mane and the tail.
Yeah.
They even named a shampoo after it. And then and Mitz is like, dead, and there's flies, There's flies everywhere. It's the humanity. Welcome back to the podcast. The trivia question in Cyberpunk Edgerunner, I guess really probably Cyberpunk itself as well, the game. What is the proper name for the currency informally What is the name for the currency informally referred to as eddies? I didn't know this. Just watched the damn show. European currency unit. Also, yeah, they did refer to it as the euro dollar. The euro dollar. I did hear that. All right, so that's your trivia, guys.
I'm still just thinking about Haruhi now.
Oh.
I'm still just... Just to put it into perspective, it's not that they remade the same episode 8 times. Like, that's already ballsy enough. But imagine this, Caroline. Imagine this.
Okay, imagining.
So imagine the biggest show in culture. Imagine season 2 of Attack on Titan comes out. Like, that's how big of a deal season 1 of Haruhi was. Everyone's hyped for season 2.
Man.
And they don't just start with season 2. They actually start showing it, airing it in Japan with season 1. They start airing it in chronological order. So you rewatch episode 1 of Attack on Titan, episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You finally get a new episode. You're like, okay, that's cool. 9, 10, 11, all stuff you've seen before. And all of a sudden, a new episode comes out. And you're like, this is pretty good. And you go online and you talk with all your friends on your 4chans or Reddits. And you're like, that was a pretty interesting episode. And then next week happens. And it's like pretty much the same thing. And you're like, okay, that was weird. And then it happens again. And again, week after week, people get so excited and get shown the same thing. Like, how many weeks, months of people getting hyped for a new episode and getting shown the exact same episode with just slight tweaks?
You're just like
people were losing their minds. Like, how long do you think that'd be on for if you watched 8 episodes of Attack on Titan in a row?
God, it's kind of genius.
Well, if it's Attack on Titan...
But it's the same episode of Attack on Titan, and you're hyped for...
Okay,
you want to know what
Attack on
happens
Titan
to
has
Eren.
action.
Yeah.
Then you can get like these amazing action scenes in different ways over and over again. But in Haruhi's case, it's slice of life.
God, no game, no life.
And not much
They get a phone call,
be
though.
desired.
They get a phone call. I guarantee, if you've never studied Japanese a day in your life, you'll know what Denwa means when you leave Haruhi.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I love the passion.
Oh my goodness. Anyway,
yeah.
What are we doing here?
I realized during this conversation that I don't know very much about Haruhi Suzumiya. I've seen the second season for sure, but I remember nothing about it. I've seen the movie, and I know it's about time travel or something, but... wow. All right, you ready for Unexplored Pictures?
Yeah.
Get your popcorn ready. It's time for Unexplored Pictures with Mason.
No more Haruhi talk. We're talking today about
promise
Drifting
that.
Home, a 2-hour-long piece that started streaming on Netflix in
Awesome.
September. This is a very Netflix-heavy episode, I guess. This is directed by Hiroyasu Ishida, who, along with Studio Colorido on Penguin Highway, are back to capture that like youthful exuberance that the studio does so well. Bright colors, just happy characters moving around. It's great. All their shows and movies have the same kind of life to them. And here the story focuses on a group of energetic 6th graders who are enjoying their summer break by exploring this deserted apartment complex that is due to be set up for demolition. They're hoping to find some like spooky ghosts or some sort of adventure.
That's awesome.
And things get a little too dramatic, and they find themselves trapped in the apartment complex. Not because some gate locks them in, or the police or construction folks are patrolling the grounds. Nope, they are just suddenly transported on the structure to the middle of a vast, never-ending ocean. So it's kind of like a mix of Sunny Boy and Welcome to the Space Show, or Drifting Classroom, the classic novel that it's based on. But the characters, while excellently realized, they're very well voiced and animated, are, as you might expect with an animated movie, a little too melodramatic sometimes. And if you don't do well with that, this might be a tough recommendation, because they are...
I feel like being transported in an apartment building to the middle of the ocean just unexplainably causes some melodrama.
Sure, agreed. Yeah, that's a high-stress situation, and it happens. But they're kids, and they are boisterous, and they're stagnant, and engaging because of the location is kind of stagnant, because they're just adrift in the ocean. But they're not like strong enough characters to carry a 2-hour-long runtime. Like, it's a fine movie, and I like when it's the survival aspect of, how are they going to get more supplies and food and all that good stuff. And that's kind of realistic. Like there's a solid amount of danger on this thing. Like walls are crumbling down, kids are just running through them. They're very destructible, both
Oh
the
my
kids and the
God.
walls.
Yeah, and
Ledges
they
are
don't have a
crumbling.
Mizuho with nyanas on
Exactly.
delivering things like they do in Sunny Boy.
Exactly. And there's like these kids get injured and it's not like super gory, but it's intensely physical. Like it kind of hurt to watch sometimes, and it kind of obviously they get bruised, they get battered, and that is supposed to also represent just the emotional damage that they're going through because they're kids, they're away from home. Like that's tough. And at the end of the day, it is just like a light coming of age story with a bunch of characters that are playing the right tune, but it doesn't hit the right notes. Like it's kind of just okay, and it drags a little bit longer than it needs to, and it gets a little too supernatural. Not because, oh, transportation to the middle of an ocean is weird. Like, yeah, we get it. But it gets into like this whole like spirit thing and metaphor, and like you get it. You've seen this before, and it's a fine movie. It's solid. It's really well produced. And if you have the patience or just bored enough, it's a good option. But there is some shrieking children, and it is nothing new. So I give it like a light recommendation. If you're really bored, you see it on Netflix, give it a shot.
Don't mind shrieking children.
Yeah, there's a little bit of yelping around. You know, they're kids. It's what they do.
Are they like really adventurous kids?
Some
Is
of
this-
them. You know,
Is this like a
you get-
Mugen Waku Say Survive type of thing where they're trapped on this place? Have you seen that?
I have not seen that one.
Oh well, they get like trapped on an alien planet and they're just trying to survive the whole show. But this kind of sounds like they're trying to survive. They're just on a pillared building in the middle of the
They're
ocean.
on a boat that sometimes drifts by other boats, so they like try to jump over and steal
Sounds
supplies
good.
and jump back on the boat. Like it's
I think it sounds
a
cool.
fine concept. Yeah, it looks good, and that's probably the strongest point about it. So there you go, Drifting Home. It's on Netflix. A little long, but it's fine. It's fine.
All right.
All right, well, let's get into our mailbags where you can submit them at aaapodcast.com. You can basically tell us anything you want. Ask us a question about anime things or podcast things or Japan things or really anything. So we got one from Doom Kangaroo who says, "Hey, Addicts, in your opinion, what are some OSTs that hit way harder than the show merits? For example, Don't Lose Your Way from Kill la Kill hits so hard for me, but the show is primarily just so goofy. But no matter what, when that song played in the show, I knew things were about to get real. As always, thank you for being you and looking forward to hearing what you have to say."
That is true.
Mitsuki, what do you think?
So yeah. So I interpreted this as like.
Oh, we didn't even do the mailbag song.
No. Well, all right. I wrote it down, but
I knew we were missing something.
It's time for an almighty
Okay, there we go.
anime mailbag.
Let's do it.
Anime.
mailbag.
We went extra hard with that dance.
I did
We
not,
did.
because I don't do that. 'Cause I'm curmudgeonly.
Yeah, we know.
So I interpreted this as like the music's better than the show, sort of itself.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah, okay. So for me, there are a few that really stood out. And I'm really happy I had to do these in the same like time period because that was really hard. That was a good mental exercise. For me, the first one is MD Geist. The show just has like a lot of good like rock music in it for a show that is so obviously terrible. So that's my first pick. All Nova Zero is a mecha show that people liked at first and then they hated it.
well, that's because Uro Butcher did episode 1 and said, you guys take it from here.
Yeah, I think that sums it up. I think that's kind of what I recall as well. But the music is good. There's definitely several solid songs from the soundtrack from that, and then Seraph of the End has some really good music. Especially the theme song is like really damn good. So, I think it's Hiroyuki Sawano does a theme song to that. So those stand out to me, I would say.
Now, my two that I wrote down, not to say they are like bad anime, because these are like actually decent anime, but to say the least, having the Rising of the Shield Heroes OST on just another isekai is pretty funny. And And then we also have Demon Slayer, which again, not a bad show.
No.
Although some might disagree. It's an enjoyable show, but the fact that they have such amazing songs in their OST on another, pretty basic shonen show, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, this was tough because I don't really listen to a ton of music from shows I don't think are all that great. But I think, what you kind of mentioned, Doom Kangaroo and Mitsuki, like, Hiroyuki Sawano just writes banger things. Like, he's just a great composer. I like Kill la Kill, but I would say Guilty Crown is a much worse show, but it's him on the helm again, so it's a great soundtrack. I would say Initial D is really sweet.
Oh my god.
I would say Initial D leans very heavily on the zero beats and would not be what it is without the music. Not saying it's bad, but man...
The music does contribute.
Music is baller. And also, I would say I didn't mind Terror in Resonance, but like Yoko Kanno's like creepy contributions to that soundtrack are really cool. So those are my three. But they're all fine shows still. Except Guilty Crown, that's not a good show. And that's
thinking
it.
about that one too.
Thank you
all
for the
right.
mailbag. We love you.
Oh boy.
You guys ready? Buckled
No,
up?
Yes.
Not ready.
We have the review of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. This is a summer 22 show, but really it came out just last month on Netflix when it all dropped at once. This is a show that I picked up for picks and impressions, even though it wasn't out yet. I still picked it, and that's pretty much it. So if you haven't seen it yet, it is based on the video game. It's actually a prequel of sorts to Cyberpunk 2077 by CD Projekt Red. It takes place in the same Night City, and it's a standalone story about David Martinez, a student of the prestigious Arasaka Academy. And after misfortune strikes his family, he turns into being an edge runner or a black market mercenary. He kind of operates as a gun for hire on the dark side of the law. So, it's done by Studio Trigger, who most recently has been doing SSSS Gridman, Dynazenon, and Brand New Animal, directed by the glorious Hiroyuki Imaishi, who's known for, as we mentioned earlier, Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, and Promare, and it's based on games, all sorts of games. So, going into this, Caroline, what were your initial expectations?
Absolutely nothing, because I never heard of Cyberpunk, did not play the game, didn't even know this was based on a game until I started watching, I think it was like the first episode, and then I looked it up briefly, and I'm like, okay, so that's why this world feels very established already, is because it's based on an established video game. So, yeah, I had absolutely no thoughts going into it.
Very nice. Well, I'm curious to see how, as someone who hasn't played or experienced any of it, it struck you. Mitsugi, what did you think going into this?
I mean, I played 3/4 of the game until I got annoyed with the bugs and then quit. So I don't know. The only other thing I knew, so I knew a lot about it, obviously. I mean, especially like the time that I knew exactly what to expect. The story's not the same, but the only other thing I really heard a lot about was that stupid green girl with red eyes. More on that later, but I was like, who is this girl? Why is she excessively...
I saw this girl's...
how
I saw
looted
this girl,
that
I
character
knew.
was?
Mitsugi's gonna freaking hate this girl.
Yeah, that was just like... Oh, man. That was just like an unbelievably looted girl. So many lewds from that. And I was just like, why? Why did this have to happen? But we'll talk about that character, I'm sure.
So for myself, I played a bit of the game. I was aware of the tone, the setting, and I would say out of the three of us, I am the biggest fan of Trigger's works. I don't always love what they put out, but I have enough interest in their style, their charisma, and their ethos to always check it out no matter what. So I was glad it was picked. Maybe that was by my own hand, but I made my dreams come true. And then we obviously, I'd been hearing good things about it after it came out, and that's why we were like, oh, we should probably, it's getting a lot of buzz, we should probably review it sooner. So that's why we're doing it now. Was that a good idea, Caroline? Should people watch Cyberpunk Edgerunners?
Okay, so I would say generally yes, because at the very least, I thought the first half was a solid 4 out of 5. Like I was really loving the world that that they did for the anime. I really enjoyed the characters for the most part. I thought the character designs very interesting looking. I don't know if that's due more to the Cyberpunk game or Trigger. Either way, it looks fantastic. The music, super good. It has like a very unique kind of feel to it, especially since they utilized Franz Ferdinand for the opening, which was kind of surprising. But nonetheless, very good. Just overall, I had a fantastic time with it until the second half kind of fell apart for me. Especially the very end, which I feel like the ending just was not satisfactory for me. But overall, it was fun and enjoyable for a while, so I would recommend at least giving it a shot because I was watching it and I'm just like, damn, this is really fun. And it's just one of those anime that kind of reminds you like, okay, this is why you watch it. It's because it gives you such a specific kind of enjoyment. So I would say at least give it a shot.
Nice. I love to hear it. Mitsugi, would you recommend this?
I think that for fans of the genre, maybe. I don't think it's for a lot of audiences necessarily. So, first of all, it's very violent. It might be an understatement.
Yeah.
You
see somebody get dismembered by a car.
Yeah, not only is it violent, but it's extremely gory as well. So that probably eliminates like half of the audience right there. And then I just honestly thought the end of this anime was really poor, to be honest with you. Everything after it went from being like a show that I thought was moving too slowly to a show that just fired off like a rocket, and it just like didn't stop until the very end. And so I thought this show had a lot of pacing problems, and I thought they kind of just let the story kind of just fall apart at the end, honestly. And it became a little too Studio Trigger for me as well down the stretch. I mean, when there were cars like bouncing around in the street like bowling pins, getting hit, I'm like, this is a little too Looney Tunes. It's becoming too Looney Tunes.
And yet their much smaller car is very stable, like not being destroyed in the process.
Yeah. So, but like, if you just want for people that like Cyberpunk, or they just want a very visceral action sci-fi show, it's perfect. But if you're looking for like, a pillar of the genre, that has like a deep plot line that makes sense all the time, then no. So maybe that's a maybe from me, but we'll find out later how I really feel about it.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad that both of you guys were not big on the ending, because I agree with you guys, but I'm going to argue against it. So I think this was I think it was good. I think it was really good. Unless you really just bounce off Trigger's previous works and know that they are not your thing, I would recommend this show. Even if you haven't played the games, I think there's enough here to enjoy it. Is it a masterpiece? No, not even close. But it is a bucket of cyberkinetic fun. I love Imaishi's John Woo inspired, just like all caps style of directing. Just everything oozes style and weight, and it is gory, but it is so Looney Tunes, as Mitsugi mentioned, where you're not like grossed out because it's so pulpy and off the wall that you're just like, yes, this is adrenaline directed directly into my veins, and it's just a ride, and you hold on for as long as you can, and then when it loses it, you're like, well, that was fun while it lasted. So I would recommend Cyberpunk. I enjoyed it, and we will get into spoilers right now. So if you haven't seen it yet, and we convinced you, maybe give it a shot. If not, welcome for spoiler territory.
Yep. Here we go.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god.
I want to open with a question. I just want to get this out of the way. Okay?
Yeah.
I feel like I got to get this off my chest. How did you guys feel about Rebecca? I feel like it's not...
I liked her.
All right, Mason likes
I
her.
do not like her character design. I'm with you there. Not only is it obvious that it's, you're going to sexualize a very childlike body, but also the eye color, and it's just so unattractive to me. But I liked her character. I thought she was pretty fun. Was not huge on the fact that she really takes too much pleasure into murdering people. But overall, I kind of appreciated her character. I thought she was pretty funny.
I would say she's like a cigarette smoking brothel owner trapped in a tiny green child zombie's body. That's what she's like, and I do not like her very much. She's just like something about her being green. She's green, right? Like, it's not just me.
Maybe they give her that tint.
So she's like,
it's like a filter. She's not actually green.
she looks green. I'm looking at her right now, and she 100% is green, like bluish green. And then her eyes just threw me off. I can't handle it. It's, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I had to get that off my chest. So it sounded like we were kind of split. All right. Someone else is gonna have to take the story.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning, because I feel like the beginning is the high point of the show. Even if there wasn't overall the show doesn't have like a driving plot. You're more connected to the characters than anything. But yeah, the first couple episodes, like the opening song just really got you in the groove, I feel like. And introduction to the world. And then I really like David. I think he's a really good main character.
I agree. I thought David was really good. And yeah, I don't know.
I see Mason's kind of going back and forth on that.
Yeah, I don't know where to begin. Do we want to start with characters or like the story?
Well, I honestly, I couldn't even tell you what the story is. It's about a kid whose mom.
Well, it's about the characters. Yeah. So,
yeah, I guess.
I mean,
Let's also start off with the fact that they've really put a lot of emphasis on David's name. They go like, David, duh! David, duh!
Are you watching the sub?
Yeah.
I watched the dub.
Yeah, I assume let's
know
watch the dub. I watched a little bit of both. I thought both were pretty solid. But I guess to talk about the characters, I like the characters, but not as characters. Which is to say, the character designs in this show are really validating. And I love that. So, like, for example, Lucy isn't naked all the time because boobs. Like, she doesn't want to wear the runner suits because of her traumatic past, and you need to wear like not clothing when you're in these ice baths. That makes sense. She doesn't have like an edgy undercut because it's hip. Like, she wears it because having hair back there would interfere with your deep dive port. She doesn't wear like tight clothes because that's hot. That's how we sell figures. Like, it would make too much noise when she's like stealthily like stealing chips. Like, it makes sense why she looks the way she looks. And you kind of get a similar thing with David. Like, David is just burdened with the dreams of other people. Like, he wears his mom's EMT jacket because that's her dream. He wears this like all this cyberware to help fulfill like Lucy's aspirations and what he's been given. I mean, you talk about like growing into your dad's shoes. Speaking about like growing into your father figure's arm and mane, like he is just encumbered and burdened with what other people want from him. So like as a character, I think he's kind of weak. Like, he doesn't really interest me. He doesn't have his own drive or personality. But as a person within this show, within this context, he's really good. And I think there's like a disconnect because part of what makes the ending kind of feel rushed is because you don't really connect with them because they're not supposed to be great characters. They are in this world of cyberpunk, which is this crushing, corporatized future society that just steamrolls people, and people are what just get put under the wheel. So you can't really have strong people survive that, which is, I think, part of what I like and don't like about the show, if that makes sense.
There's definitely a Final Fantasy VII, like, people versus the evil company type of thing going on.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's very fitting for how cyberpunk as a genre tends to be. Mm-hmm. You know, it's about these people fruitlessly trying to do something in this world and just really coming to terms that they are amounting to very little. You are meaningless. You will be crushed You are a dredge of society. You can either live it out in poverty, getting your sex fantasies fulfilled, or you can fight to get a place in the world and die brutally. Like, that is your options, and you just kind of go with it. So I love this world, you know? Like, you come into it and they're throwing all this lingo at you, and it's like kind of difficult to follow, but you can kind of understand. You kind of just
I kind of thought the slang was a bit silly, and like in the beginning, at least, when
That's
you, like
fair.
first episode, they are throwing all this slang at you, and I'm wondering because I'm hearing the Japanese words, and of course I'm not like a Japanese expert, but I'm not hearing a lot of those slangs being used. I'm hearing normal words that I know. And
That's
yet
fair.
the subtitle says something completely different. I'm like, okay, this has to be like the video game thing. Like they're introducing all these slang terms into the
It is.
subtitles and everything. But then can we talk about like the telepathic conversations that they would do? And they had those text boxes telling you what they're saying. The thing
Yep.
is that they did not translate those into subtitles. They just kept the text boxes. You had to like look at these smaller fonts. And then not only were they smaller and you had to actively search for them on the screen, they're also not understandable a lot of the time. Like they'll repeat words in those text boxes for no reason. And to the point where I'm having a hard time figuring out what they're saying.
Well, that's how they were being said. And that's how it is in the video game, and it's a great little touch of how they did it. But I agree, it would be nice if Netflix gave you the subtitles to go along with the tiny subtitles.
But again, like they're repeating words, like words that don't need to be repeated, like back to back. And I don't know if that is a mistake from when they were. I don't understand why they did that because
I think it's just how people talk, where they begin a sentence and then the next sentence kind of conveys the idea.
No, I don't. I really don't think that's it because it doesn't.
I guess
I
didn't-
thought about that. I thought about that, and when I was looking for a reason that why they would repeat words, but they did it so often and so randomly that it didn't make any sense.
And it wasn't when it was like scrolling up or something. Yeah, I should go back and watch it then. I guess I just missed that.
Maybe it's probably not even that big a deal, but it was just something strange
Something
that I
you
kept on
noticed. That's
focusing on when I was trying to read not subtitles.
I didn't.
That's fair.
I don't think this was in your subtitles.
No,
What, the
so
text
the
conversations?
character would be talking and you see the subtitles.
Yeah.
And then if they were talking and it was coming through like their vision feed where it showed the text, they would not have
Oh.
subtitles and you had to read the little
The screen
like,
itself.
on-screen text.
Perhaps I avoided that by being dubbed. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is
But
just
Yeah,
a
that
problem
sounds
for
weird.
subs.
I love the feel of this world, and I feel like I didn't really get that from playing the game because the game was so tarnished with mechanical bugs and this
Yeah.
and that. But
It's hard to focus on it.
when that is all stripped away and you just get to sit back and enjoy the show, you really see how interesting it is. And the point of what's so interesting is it's so boring, you know? Especially the first two episodes. Mitsuki, you said it started kind of slow because it's supposed to feel so doldrum. You see David go back and forth and back and forth. They're repeating the same music. They're repeating the same shots because it's supposed to show you how tiresome. Obviously, there's glitz, there's glamour, there's all this new technology that makes you feel like you're having sex all the time. Wowza. But it's really just another city, and you see just that it gets tiring. And
Yeah.
I love how episode 2 hits, and it's such a fast and slippery slope to the world of being an
Cyberpunk.
edge runner.
Yeah.
Episode 6 hits when Maine is going through his like weird like fever dream, and like that episode is so disorientating. Things are flipping in and out. Like you really as a viewer don't have a great sense of what's happening, what's real, when is stuff happening, because it brings you into the same headspace as Maine. And that kind of directing I thought was really well done.
I really like the beginning of the show. I mean, I think the beginning was my favorite part.
The first half was so solid. Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed learning a lot about David at my own pace, at the beginning, and how the efforts of his mom influenced him, and and as you say, like the transition from his normal quote unquote mundane life to, what he became. So, yeah.
And then his was it the Sandvestin? Sandvestine?
Sandivestan or whatever, the machine part
It's
that he
so
gets.
cool. Like it's
I love how
okay,
they
so
showed that.
just basically it is super speed, which doesn't sound interesting, but the way they show it and how he utilizes it,
With the
it's
after
just like,
images.
damn, this is awesome.
The one shot.
And I just wanted more of that, you
Yeah.
know? But then they make him into basically the Thing from the Fantastic Four.
That's true.
Bulk him up. I hated his character design after that.
It's
He's like
so
too
dumb.
meathead, just looked weird. And he didn't need all that stuff. And I realized there's a story reason for it. I just didn't like that story reason. And it just didn't do it for me. I feel like keeping it simple with that one power up he has was just so effective. And that kind of
if
just
you were
took it
going
away.
into like warfare streets, you would go in with like the least amount of equipment you can handle.
Yeah.
You're like,
I
I can
know.
go fast. I'm good enough.
I know, but like that is it's a very powerful tool that he already has. And then when you bring in the issues of it's called Chrome, right? Like
Yeah, they call it Chrome.
Like
That's the
mods.
slang
Like-
for it.
Yeah.
like having all these like body modifications, they really hammer it home. They're like, hey, these body modifications, the more you get, the more likely you are to go cyber psycho, and that's a bad thing. And they also say that, oh, anybody that gets Chrome is probably eventually going to go cyber psycho. The more you get, the more you increase that risk. And I'm thinking to myself, he's just digging his grave. This is such a stupid decision to make.
Well, you're
Especially
supposed to
since
think
he's
that
never-
episode 2. The second he puts that on, you already know he's on the downward track.
Okay,
Like,
but
it's
I'm thinking,
inevitable.
but based on the fact that he has such a good natural
Tolerance?
ability for it, a good tolerance for it, I'm thinking, okay, so he can probably survive with this for a considerable amount of time and not have too many issues. But then he just goes absolutely insane with it. And I just don't understand that part of his self-destructive personality in the second half, because they keep on hammering it home. You are going to go cyber psycho. You literally saw somebody go cyber psycho with this. And then he has never had an issue with just having this one modification. With this one modification, he has been pretty
Yeah.
self-sufficient.
He passes out a bunch. So he gets all
Well,
these
yeah.
other things so that he doesn't have to rely on it. I don't know. I think you're in that environment. Everyone else is doing it. It's part of how you freaking survive. It's how you get better jobs. Like, I think you get your first one and you just,
I think he's pretty
you keep on
impressive
going.
with the first one. There's never been an issue with him just having that one. Like, he hasn't been really put into a position where he felt restricted
So
by
I
just
don't
having
have
the one modification.
any tattoos. And I'm in no way saying, oh, if you get a tattoo, you're on a downward spiral to going psychotic. But I feel like so often people get their first one and then they're like, oh, thinking the second one would be pretty cool. And they're around people with them and it's just a chamber of wanting to go back into it, or a drug addiction. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking actually while I was watching.
Power
I'm like,
high.
is this supposed to be an allegory for drugs?
Oh, 100%.
I mean,
Oh,
in
yeah,
the future,
100%.
when body modifications is a thing, are you going to say all natural, even if everyone else like it raises these questions, and that's what's so cool about the cyberpunk, universe, both the genre and this one specifically. Like, it makes you wonder, what would I do in this society where I have all these options available?
And even so, like, back to like the whole risks and like the risk factor with these body modifications. Why is the market so strong for this? Like, I can see it being strong for
Where's
people
the
who
FDA?
are like, yeah, I mean, like, I feel like there are certainly some major concerns that should be kind of curbed a little bit
You
with
think?
with
There's-
government intervention. And I realize Night City is not exactly a great place.
No,
But I
it's
feel
not.
like, especially for the upper echelon of society, they are also using body modifications, aren't they?
Of course,
Yeah, so I'm wondering,
that's how you get ahead.
yeah, but you certainly are not going to be ahead for that long, considering you're going to die in a couple
Or
days.
have a head.
It raises questions, and I think we all would be very different in this world if these options were available. And I think, I don't know, I like that part of it, but
I agree about the San Devistan.
And devastating.
Yeah, I think that's what it was called. And because
It's hard to remember.
like there was that one fight where he was in the he had gone into the future, and they literally they show it in slow motion and then they show it in full speed.
yeah, I
And
love
it was
that.
really neat with the
Oh,
after images.
cool.
Yeah, I could use more of that. This anime definitely borrowed, and so for those of you that are like, musically inclined, it definitely had some rubato with the budget on animation use. They definitely had sections where they were just like, I'm just not gonna animate this like whole 3 minutes, and then they like had sections where they used their budget. You could kind of tell they had I don't know. I guess it takes some skill from the animator to recognize when you need to have a lot of animation used and when you don't, so you can maybe pace your budget accordingly. But there were definitely some conversations where they would just stand there and not move for like 3 minutes.
I noticed that, yeah.
And that's kind of how Trigger has always been.
Well, I get it. It's their method, and then they have scenes that are like mind blowing for like a minute, So I get it. But yeah, it is like a drug, and as you say, like, how can somebody just watch their friend just like self-destruct because of this thing, and then it's like you just don't learn. I don't know. It just seems
because they're all in the same drug. They're all in the same space.
I don't know. I feel like Lucy was trying to get out of that, and if she can do it, then David can do it.
She was trying, but she wouldn't if it wasn't for everyone around her. I feel like it's so easy to be like, oh, we'll just stop. Well, obviously that's the answer, but
I think it also is an important factor that this is a parent lucrative job you could possibly have in this world, is being a cyberpunk. So, and the fact that Lucy is also, for a while living off of David's efforts, which of course, if she doesn't want to be a part of that world anymore, then that's great. But also a reason why not everyone can get out is because not everyone has their cyberpunk sugar daddy.
Exactly. Oh. And there's a lot of political innings at the beginning of how you get in this situation. Like it's good. About the animation, I love the colors. It felt true to the game.
Oh yeah. The colors, I was just like, this is just
so good.
A feast for the eyes.
But it also had that like classical Trigger style of humor. Like obviously, watching Main just punch the crap out of everyone is just like a classic Imaishi cut. It looks amazing. But also just like early on when David just like gets his first like nosebleed and passes out after using it too much, and he like crumples down the stairs. Like most anime, he'd be like, whoa, I don't feel so good. You get a bit of red and he goes down. But here he like falls down and like awkwardly like rolls down the stairs, and it's very like shoddily animated, but like part of how juvenile it looks makes it more funny, so they know how to use their budget to get every morsel out of it, and I like that.
They definitely had some scenes in the game or in the anime that were in the same locations as the game. I thought I recalled the diner. There was a diner scene that looked like the same diner. And the warehouse scene, there was definitely a couple shots in the warehouse that looked reminiscent of some of the gunfights they had in the game.
A lot of the architecture was similar to like the apartment they lived at, looked very similar.
So I give them a tip of the hat for that.
Though it definitely felt like they were trying to hammer in Adam Smasher. So apparently he's a character in the last
he's one of the antagonists. But I would say for the most part, nothing was like too ham-fisted.
Adam Smasher. What a dumb name. Oh my god. Yeah, but the ending, it just didn't really hit for me, at the end. It just, I don't know. It felt like they didn't necessarily that the plot beyond the characters didn't matter. So we were just going to run them to their final exhaustion point.
Yeah.
And then
how can we kill them?
How can we burn out these character storylines, but in doing so, I feel like I lost track of what the story was.
Me too. I was having a hard time trying to follow the whole corporate drama with Faraday and their alliances, and
it couldn't have been more than like, you owe me a machine part or you owe me a drug to cure the machine part. Like there couldn't have been more than that to it.
It was very much. Everyone is just a pawn of the higher-ups, and Faraday's aspirations cost the death of everyone we knew, and not just people in the gang, but that video guy, Tanaka, other corporate people. Like everyone is just a pawn of people above them, and that's like the tragedy of it. So I agree that it was less interesting just being like, oh, another fight. Okay, they did another fight now. Oh, now these people are dead. Like yes, it wasn't great, but I think that's very fitting for the tone and the genre. And like, I didn't mind it. I didn't like it, but I'm like, okay, I see what they were going for.
I don't know. It's like everybody, like you say, everybody's a pawn of somebody else, you know. So like, you know, I report to a VP, who reports to a COO, who reports to the CEO, who reports to the board of directors, who probably reports to a bank, who reports to investors, who are us again. Like it just keeps going, right? And we're all just like doing things for someone else. It's
And you
weird
can
how-
be the most chomed up choom in the country,
oh,
but
chromed up choomy
Yeah.
boomy.
but you're
God.
like you can have the sickest implants, all the power-ups, and you're just a plaything.
Did you guys ever play the game Twisted Metal?
No.
I feel like I played like a sample of that, like when you went to like Toys R Us and they had like a demo disc up and available, and you would play that for like 20 minutes.
So I'm gonna post a picture here for you guys, but for some reason, David really reminded me of this character from Twisted Metal. So there's a character in Twisted Metal called Axel. I'm posting the picture for you. And he's like trapped in these machine things that are attached to these giant tires, and he just stands between them.
Yeah,
And,
I've played that level of Elden Ring.
David reminds me of Axel from
I
Twisted
can
Metal.
see it.
But man, like, talk about like going too far though. I mean, at the end, he basically just gives up his whole body to use this suit, and I have no idea how they survive having all their limbs chopped off and all this.
Well, I
but-
mean,
Okay,
I think
Mr.
he already
Bastard.
substituted everything
true.
that, all those limbs. I think he's already substituted that for upgrades and everything. So he's
Cybernetics.
basically a Mr. Potato Head, all ready to go.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but man, the ending was just so fast. I mean, do we all agree?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but did it need to be another like? Did it need to be longer?
Probably
I feel
get
not.
that it
like
was
there needed to be a
fast.
more establishment for where the ending was going.
I
mean,
mean,
you
what
might-
did you
Because-
want it? What did you want it to say that it didn't?
You might be right
I
because
feel like
the
it was
ending
just
could have been.
unsatisfactory. Like it just felt like there was something not there. Like for David, I never really understood why he was throwing his whole entire life away just to get Lucy to the moon. Like why not
Oh,
try
it's
to get her
romantic.
there while
cootie
trying to
patootie.
preserve
She is
yourself?
cutie
Yes,
patootie.
I understand wanting to help her dream, but to throw everything away like he did for the mere
What was his dream?
chance.
Lucy is best
I
girl.
guess his dreams were everyone else's dreams, but I
Yeah.
wanted David to kind of come full circle with that, instead of sacrificing himself just for Lucy. Not even just for Lucy, just to have the possibility that she can get to the moon. It's just kind of silly, especially since the moon does not seem all that exciting.
Yeah, and I agree with you
Like,
100%.
He killed himself just to get her a trip to Disney World. It felt
We
like.
talked about this. The moon is either like negative 1,000 degrees or it's like 3,000 degrees. It's not nowhere in between. You cannot. Oh, the moon I don't think would be very fun to exist on.
No, but it's like, and I think that's the point. Like, I don't like the ending either. Like, you watch it and you're like, oh, like that was it. But I think that's the point. That's how you're supposed to
Yeah.
feel. I don't know. I
I
feel
know
bad
about
playing
that.
the "it's bad on purpose" card, but I think that emptiness, that like, what was it all for, is kind of how that emptiness is part of what you expect from a cyberpunk show.
I don't think
Okay,
that the
so
corporate
if I were
plotline
to
would have been
take-
better.
If I were to take that feeling example and apply it to something else, I think Devilman Crybaby explained that pretty well. You felt that like that's the point. That horrible ending, that was the point of that show. You felt horrible, and yet you still felt that ending was satisfactory. This does neither. This felt not satisfactory, even though
And
it was
I
trying
agree,
to go for
by the
a
way.
similar.
I wish it was
I know
better.
you're trying to
just-
play devil's advocate.
I don't know what I wanted to be different. Like, I
Yeah.
love Lucy. I just don't love her as a character. Like, I didn't get much
I
from
like
her.
her.
She was kind of just there. She was your token manic pixie dream girl. She kind of was interested in David, but she was kind of offset. She kind of had a thing. She just kind of was there. And there just wasn't strong motivations from a lot of these characters that made you want to watch them succeed. You wanted to watch them do, but you didn't want to watch them progress, and they didn't really evolve. They were just kind of stuck on the paths that life set out for them, and they're on the trains until they die or they explode, which is usually the same thing in the show, but that's about it.
So true.
I appreciated the gore. I thought it was kind of cool.
It was very
to see
intense
that
at
kind
times.
of stuff. Yeah, it was like kind of unnecessary, but also appreciated. It's kind of funny how we kind of went from Bastard to this. Both Netflix shows, both sexual, both gory, you know?
Yeah, Netflix seems to have like a proclivity. I think that's the right word for that. That is the proclivity. That's correct, isn't it?
Yep, you got it.
So it just seems like they didn't have less of a fuck about violence, and I'm okay with it. I mean, I just think it's funny how, if you think about it, if you step back and you look at anime as a whole over time, how much more we talk about Netflix now than we did before.
It's true.
It's becoming a
There's
real part
lot
of the
Netflix
conversation,
shows now.
like, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, they have the money to make a statement. But,
anybody ready to score this?
I think so.
I think so too. Caroline, do you want to go first?
Sure. So as I said before, first half, great. Solid 4 out of 5. Was really loving it.
Wow.
And I was thinking to myself, how have I only just now heard about this show? And I really want to play the game. But as you guys mentioned, the game isn't as great.
Well, I think they may have fixed it. I'm actually going to go play it now. And it's been through so many patches and repairs, etc., that I'm willing to give it a try. It's been like 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point
Right.
of the show. It's to bring people back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, it just felt enjoyable and visually interesting. The plot, as we mentioned, was not too interesting, but I like slice of life, even if it is in a very dark world. So overall, was really feeling the first half, but then it really went downhill in the second, to the point where I'm just like, man, this is a shame. But still, it has a lot going for it. I think I'll give this 3 cyber psychoses out of 5.
Oh, wow. Well, there it is. Yeah, I really feel like the ending was just too fast. I went from being to me, episodes 1 and 2 were perfect. I loved everything about them. The show was a 5 out of 5 for me after 2 episodes. The easiest pass for Mason in the history of the world, I think.
And this
Except
was
the
like a
fact that
blind
it wasn't
pass,
out
wasn't
yet.
it?
It was a blind
This
pass.
was a blind pass.
Oh my god! Wow. Okay. Well, good job. You did a great job with that.
Thank you.
And episodes like 3 through 5, I thought were very slow. I was losing interest, honestly, and then episode 6 happened, and episode 6 was awesome. And then it brings the show back up to speed, and then it just kept going and going and going. And by the time episode 10 was rolling around, this shit was so fucking Looney Tunes, and it moved so fast that, to me, it's just like a very unbalanced anime. That being said, the fucking style is great, the action's great, the music's great. So many things about it are great. And so I'm gonna give it 3.5 net runners or whatever out of 5.
Okay. There we go. I think I was the most positive of the batch. This show exceeded expectations, and I think it really set out what it needed to do. It could have been a lot longer and boring. It could have been a lot shorter and depressing. I felt like it just hit the sweet spot. Yes, it was hampered by some weaker characters, but it really avoided a lot of tropes. I think Rebecca could have been a lot more of just the lolly character, and she wasn't. She was her own thing. I think Lucy could have just been the female love interest, and she wasn't. There was just enough that made it feel fresh. And sure, the ending wasn't great, but I still think it was a fitting one, and I can be content with that. So this show was 10 episodes of punch, flair, and fun. I'm going to give it 4. Boom goes the dynamite out of 5.
Oh, my God.
I've never let a lukewarm ending get in the way of a good time. So I enjoyed this show.
A rare 4 from Mason.
Yeah, it's a really
I'm
light 4.
surprised.
It's a really light 4. I was between that or a 3.5, but I I thought it was solid enough, and I enjoyed my time with it. It didn't overstay its welcome,
It's true.
and I just liked the world that Cyberpunk presented. So, good job. Trigger is back, baby.
So
Woo!
have you finished the game, Mason?
No, I'm not going back to that game. It's just not my style of game.
Other than
okay.
Adam Smasher, are there other characters that make an appearance in this show?
I didn't really. Man, I'm not sure.
It's more subtle nods. It's
I think
not
the
too
setting-
damn fast. Keanu Reeves wasn't there, which is thank goodness. If they had put Keanu in here, that would have been
That would have been that would have been a shark jump. Yeah, no, there's just a lot of settings like the Ripper Dock, the bar, the factory. You know, a lot of the settings were the same. So, yeah. So,
Well, with
All right.
that, let's close it out, people. You can follow us again on Twitter at AAA Podcasts. You can find us on Facebook, our Discord. It's an easy join if you go to AAApodcast.com, and it will direct you to the Discord where you can join us for watch parties and clubs and discussions. I believe this week on Anime Club, we are going to be talking about Denocoil, which I have not started yet. And also you can find us
So
on
good.
TikTok, _anime_addicts. And with that,
don't forget to check for the Amazon affiliate section on the Discord. I'm gonna put that there. So,
and of course, we will be back next week. I believe we plan to review Made in Abyss Season 2, so
Oh
I'm
my
excited
God.
for that.
so we're
Oh, boy.
feasting. So many good shows. I love it.
Feast
And I
and
believe you
famine.
guys will be I believe you guys will be heading into a hentai episode after this. So
That's
I
right.
hope everyone has a nice day, and we'll see you next week.
All right, bye guys. See you.
See ya.